You are play. Still up for that?
Yeah.
Okay. Want to make sure I run this down.
Yep.
Down. Let's start.
Hello, and welcome to Day 7, Thursday, Rogue Gateway Rotary Club. It's nice to see so many faces here today, as it always is, and a lot of chatter going around. Welcome back. All right, hello, Kelly. So yeah, it's great to see everybody here. We're going to start off with a pledge of allegiance by Dana.
Okay. Hey, we're gonna do the district pledge this time. Think so that the music goes down and the mic stays out. Oh, there we go. That's perfect. Okay, so now we're a little more serious. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna get really up. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Then before we test, which you guys probably have, oh yeah, I'll bet that you can. Okay, so first, yeah, is it true? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it feel good for and fourth, will it be beneficial of all concerned?
Dan, you got something else?
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you. And thank you.
It's your.
Brenda is our inspiration, so come on up. I love Brenda's inspiration. She's heavily inspirational. Well, we're switching it up a little bit today. With all the things crazy things going on in the world, Indigenous wisdom started to make more and more sense. So I thought I would share a little message from Honorary Chief Bill Lake Jr. And he has to say, what we are witnessing across Mother Earth is not just crisis, but a shared and deepening pain that calls for our compassion and understanding. These conditions reveal that the structures we have relied upon, political, economic, social, and even religious, have not evolved in harmony with the living reality of our interconnected systems and the understanding that the hurt of all is the hurt of all. These conditions reveal that the structures we have relied upon, political, economic, social, repeat myself. Our wise elders and spiritual teachers understand that everything is related, that what touches one part of the circle touches the whole. Yet much of the world continues to operate as if separation were real, as if nations, economies, and peoples could act independently without consequences for others. This illusion of separation has shaped systems that prioritize competition over cooperation, extraction over stewardship, and short-term gain over long-term balance. There is a deeper challenge here, one that cannot be healed by surface-level solutions alone. It is an inability, or perhaps an unwillingness, to embrace the profound implications of interdependence fully. To truly accept this truth would require a transformation not only of institutions, but of consciousness itself. It would challenge us to rethink governance as a shared responsibility, rooted in unity, reimagine economics as a system of mutual care rather than accumulation, and view leadership as a service to the whole, rather than the authority over parts, inspiring active participation. There is every reason to believe that the crisis we face will continue to intensify until this deeper understanding takes root. The pressures we see are not random. The pressures are part of a larger movement pushing humanity toward awakening. We can continue along a path that deepens division and suffering, or we can consciously step into a new way of being that reflects the truth of our unity. We understand that healing begins in the circle, with honest reflection, deep listening, and shared commitment to the well-being of all. If humanity can embrace this spirit, if we can truly see one another, not as separate interests, but as relatives within a single living system, then the very crisis we now fear can become catalysts for transformation. This can guide us toward the future where unity is not just spoken, but lived, where justice is not imposed, but arises naturally for right relationship, where our collective path honors both the material and the spiritual dimensions of life. The time we are given is not only a time of danger, but also a time of profound possibility. The recognition of our interdependence is no longer optional. This recognition is essential. As more of us come to understand and embody this truth, we will lay the foundation for a world that is balanced, sustainable, and rooted in the sacred reality that we are all connected, one circle, one human family, and the shared responsibility to care for our Mother Earth and one another. Thank you. And I hope as Rotarians, you will join me in this new awakening of our consciousness. We can change the world. Thank you.
Whoops, put that in my paper. Brenda.
Actually, I would love to have a copy of that, because that is absolutely wonderful. It has always been a while since with their amazing inspirations. So thank you for that. So I think we have cards left. By Victoria, so Victoria, thank you so much for being a reader today. It's back there, so she's going to be wandering around, so be thinking for dollars in your pocket if you haven't purchased any tickets today. That would be great. So she'll be coming down. There is food back on the back table. Keep bringing in for our ongoing food drive. Thank you. I also, and this is exciting, oh yes, Dan. Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, thank you for that. Let's try. Okay. I'll speak into it really loud because that makes a difference if I'm close. So there, I'll do that. Sorry. But yeah, that was, I hope you were able to hear Brenda's because that was delightful. Anyway, so t-shirts are still for sale. And I just want to say that I have a special thank you for those people who showed up for our Saturday cleanup. We looked awesome in our t-shirts. And I'm just telling you, everybody looked good in that color. For those of you who said that wasn't your color, I'm telling you, we all looked fantastic. And we actually had people thank us for cleaning trash up on the side of the road. Thank you for your service. Because on the back, it says Rotarians at work. So just what I was hoping to recognize and say, hey, we're out in the community, we're doing good things. So continue to wear those as we go out and do our thing. We will have 3 more cleanups because it was much easier doing Fairview and D Street. D Street probably took 10 minutes with 3 of us. So it was much easier. And we made a commitment for 4 times a year. So I'm hoping that we can keep that going. Next one will probably be August or September. So that's great. We're going to keep going with that one. And just who walked in the door as I was speaking, I'm going to wear my Rotarian shirt on Saturday because I am going down to be at the booth to promote Rotary. I'm talking a little bit about what Rotary is about, but Rob here is looking for some more volunteers for Saturday. Because Saturday, this is a big thing. There's 43 high schools that come to the Rotary event and 12 middle schools. And it is very well attended. It has been for very many years. So this is just something where we can really strut our stuff. So let's help them along.
Close. Thanks, Valerie. Hey, Rob Brandis, Wednesday Club. Yeah, we're close. I would love to get like 3 more PM people, a lane judge, if you don't want to do a lot, stand on the border, hold a flag, a pole vault, and a discus potentially. So give us some thought, shoot me an email, don't need an answer this minute, but we'd love a couple more. Like Valerie said, it's huge. We actually have 2 more late ads, so we're at 57 teams. Don't believe the weather, it's gonna be 72 little trees. And of interest, we just heard like Newburgh is coming down. They've got a gal who is the seventh fastest 400 in the country right now. And they've got a kid doing 16 on the pole. So there's gonna be some big time competition there, but it's gonna be a blowout. We got an extra food truck or extra popsicle truck that's here. It'll be more people than we've seen. So hopefully everybody's there. Shoot me an email or give me a call. I'm into that TV. I know you need practice using it anyway, so catch me there. Thank you all.
And I will be there, and if you need to grab me from the table to do something, I will. And I'd love to have some company, so stop by the Rotary booth as you come in. And we'll talk about, Porch Fest and what other things we do in the community, so great. Okay, I also have for those of you on the board, we are having a stand-up meeting today, because we need to approve the grant, Jenny's, request for the grant for this coming year. And we haven't, as a board, formally approved it, so there'll be a right after the meeting, quick, let's get together, let's approve it so that, Tommy can get going with that. I think that's pretty much all I have to say. Is anybody else have any announcements they'd like to make? This is a time you'll step up for announcements. Nobody? That's absolutely amazing. Okay, and, oh, wait, yes, yeah.
Okay. Whoop.
Here go, starts it.
Okay, so thank you for your patience. Several people asked me to bring in the recipe for my homemade laundry detergent, and I have them here. So, come down and see, I'll give you some.
Nice little part of paper. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, great. So with that, I'm going to have Jim introduce to us today's speakers. I'm very excited. We'll give you finish your bite. She'll look at a nice long introduction. So I'll let Jim go ahead and introduce.
Thank you. Well, our guest speaker, well, there's two of them actually, are sitting right here, Frances Oyung from the Rogue Riverkeeper. She's program manager. That's out of the, it's a nonprofit that's located in Ashland, and it's part of the KSWIL, which is the Klamath-Siskiyou Wilderness Center. And she has lived here since 1992. I realized I got here in 1989, so pretty close. We're kind of been neighbors in that sense. She's worked for different organizations that, with some kind of natural focus, environmental kind of focus. On the Rogue River Watershed Council, Medford Water Commission, also Rogue Valley Sanitary Sewer Services, and then the Rogue Riverkeepers. And if you remember, several years ago, Rotary International added environmental concerns as to the list of our focus areas, our key focus areas. And so I thought it was appropriate that we invite Frances to come and speak, because we have our own environmental issues in our own little community. And I know the Rogue River is something dear to most of us. We heard earlier this year, we had Brian Barr come and speak, and so you already have some background with that. The other thing I just want to mention, I really think, and I mean this, that people like Frances and organizations such as hers are really kind of the unsung heroes of our community. Most people, including myself, really don't know what they do, what exactly it is they do, but we live here and we get to enjoy the benefits of that. So I thought it was appropriate, given again our new focus on environmental issues, and then just acknowledging the work that she does, to learn about it, learn what they're up to, what effect they have on us, our lives, and then also are there any opportunities for us as club to participate? I know we're always looking for projects, so I thought, heck, maybe this is a good partnership. So with that, Frances, come on up.
Thank you for inviting me to speak. Thanks, Jim was in contact with me, and Steve Rowe, he's not here, no. All right, we are gonna, Baylis on the, Baylis on technology. Okay, there we go. So Rogue Riverkeeper is a program of a nonprofit called the Klamath-Siskiyou Wildland Center. We are a 7-person 501c3 nonprofit. We are, there has been some morphs over, if anyone knew Siskiyou Project back in the day. Siskiyou Project actually merged around 15 years ago with us, but we like to say we started in a yurt in Williams almost 30 years ago. We have an office in Ashland that was a bequest to us from a longtime dedicated employee, And with a couple other requests, we now have a really nice office on A Street. We have a lot of events there, like First Fridays, where we showcase artists and things like that. So we have a lot of events, and I will plug our website and email list if you want to know about the different things we do at various times. Let's see. Oh, you're doing the show? Look, I see it's kind of chopping it off a little.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
How's that?
My current title is Rogue Riverkeeper Program Manager, but I am retiring, and the incoming program manager is Jen, who's in the green back there. So she wanted to see my song and dance to it. Rogue Riverkeeper is a member of a worldwide organization called Waterkeeper Alliance, which there's over 300 of them all over the world, but we are all independent. We are all independent, we fund ourselves independently. Waterkeeper Alliance doesn't give us money, but we get to use the term, the name Waterkeeper, Riverkeeper. And we get a lot of support from each other because we work on similar things. So as a program of KS Wild, our program does have a mission. Oh, you're so quick, babe.
I know, it's actually, all right, really got it.
Okay, go back a little more
Which way?
to up to the beginning. Keep going, up. Keep going. No, you're going the wrong direction. You're going the wrong direction. Use just the
Yeah, my
arrow.
arrows are not working, so I'm trying to, oh, there we go, now we're an hour.
Oh, okay,
there's
now
the
go,
beginning.
now go one more. Yeah, all right. Okay, I'm just
My
gonna,
arrows weren't working, now they're working. so.
okay. So the mission to protect and restore clean water, the integration of healthy communities in the Rogue River Basin through advocacy, accountability, and community engagement. And I like to talk about that because there are a lot of different nonprofits who do a lot of different things that are great. And there's a lot of different nonprofits that do things just related to environmental or natural resource concerns. They're all very valuable, but we do different things. And I know it can be easy to confuse us. You're one of those people who do stuff in the river. But there's actually many of us, including the Rogue River Watershed Council, but we do very different things. And the way I like to explain it, it's like any other community, you have entities or roles that people fulfill that are all valuable. You know, you need school teachers and sanitation workers, you need letter carriers and people sell pumping gas, right? They're all doing different things in the community, and that's the same with the different organizations that are here in just working on water. Okay, next one. So when we talk about advocacy, Rogue Riverkeeper is a very vocal organization, and that means standing up for the river and water resources. And that is actually one of the things that makes it very different from other great organizations like the Watershed Council. They are actually legislated through the state, and they are required to be made up of stakeholders and to not engage in explicit advocacy. They are actually not allowed to do that as a watershed council. That's codified. But they do other great work. They do restoration projects, education, all important. But as an entity who is allowed, and our mission is to speak out in defense of water quality and the communities and the habitats and the ecosystems that depend on clean water. That is what makes Rogue Riverkeeper different. That's our job, is to speak out. So when I show up at meetings related to the Clean Water Act and entities that hold permits about can they discharge pollution into the river, Rogue Riverkeeper is the one that can say, this is what the law says, and you are required to comply with the law. That's what the law is. I didn't make the law, but that's the law. So that's one of the things that Rogue Riverkeeper does in terms of advocacy. And a lot of it has to do with accountability. So when we show up and we nudge, we poke and say, this is, in the state of Oregon, if you see a storm drain, right, in a curb gutter, it's illegal to dump pollution down there because in Grants Pass and pretty much everywhere else in the road basin, those drains, whether it's in a parking lot or on your street, that goes to a waterway. It goes probably to a fish bearing stream. So when a person changes their oil, That's not the place to dump their used oil, right? That's not the place to even dump their dog poop, really. So holding people accountable comes in lots of different forms. We also work on legislation. So when there's different water protective types of legislation, whether it's something that's happening on the Water Resources Department, or recently there was a bill that was passed to take beavers from regulated under the Department of Agriculture when they could be killed at any time for any reason by basically anyone. Because they have so many protective values for watersheds and water protection, they're now regulated under the Department of Fish and Wildlife. And then if someone does feel the need to do lethal control, they actually have to go get a free permit and explain, I've tried these other things, I'm gonna, I wanna do lethal control now. So it's just a bit of gatekeeping, because what science has proved is that beavers are beneficial to the watershed and water protection. So that's just one of the types of things we work on in terms of legislative. Community engagement. I'm here talking to you because one of the things I like to say is that river keeping, water keeping is something that we all do. We all use water. We all impact what happens on the landscape in our own properties, in our own lives, that affect water quality, because a lot of us will have runoff off our property, right? Whether it's, you have animal manure, you have fertilizers or things, if they are, those are the kind of things which you don't want to get into a waterway. They're very useful in other applications, but those aren't things that should be in a waterway. So we talk a lot about how to manage our own practices, and we support other organizations that do like soil water conservation districts that work with ag operators to improve their irrigation delivery. Flood irrigation carries more pollutants than sprinklers or drips, things like that. So we engage, we have a lot of events, we do a lot of trash pickup, cleanup events on waterways. My website is, especially in the spring, we have to do a lot of that type of thing with them. So come to one of my events. Okay. So we have a vision too. Our vision, and I put this in there for Jim, because he's like, I love to see vision. Vision of a clean, free-flowing, healthy river where the Rogue scenic beauty, recreational fish and wildlife values are protected and restored for current and future generations. I'm guessing most of you live in Grants Pass nearby. And one of the amazing, wonderful values you have is you have an amazing, beautiful river going right through your city. You know that, I don't have to tell you that, but there's hardly any people in the United States who have a river of that caliber, quality, salmon bearing, recreational values that have that going through their city. I mean, you are so lucky and fortunate to have that in Grants Pass. The photo I put up though, that's actually Bear Creek. Because I like to talk to people in Grants Pass about what happens in Bear Creek is gonna come down to Grants Pass. And it's really important that water quality protection happens throughout the basin. And I like to relay that Grants Pass folks is all that stuff that's happening upstream of you. It's gonna get to your drinking water source at some point. And so being conscious that, not only just what you do, but it's important what other people do in our basin as well, because we are all connected by the water, and we all depend on it, of course. So that shot of Bear Creek is actually taken right off Barnett. Very busy urban corridor. There's a pedestrian bridge next to the Dairy Queen, yeah, and there's a nice riparian shade, the riparian forest, that ecosystem next to the waterway. It's shading the water, keeping it cooler for fish, and filtering pollutants. Those are the kinds of things I like to promote, especially in these developed areas. And so there is Medford. Yeah. Okay, next time. I also like to talk about geography because hopefully you all know where you are in the Rogue Basin. I talk to people sometimes grew up in Bear Creek Valley in Medford, and they're very fuzzy that they either live near a creek or that it goes to the Rogue River. I say, you know, where's that creek go? Ah, the ocean. Yeah, it's a long way to the ocean. Has to go in another water body first. And I'm talking, this isn't just the kids, these are the adults. So that's the Rogue Basin. We are the furthest south big river basin in Oregon. All right, people a lot of times say, did you work on the Klamath Dam removal? Oh, that's a different river. There's Crater Lake, you know, there's Grants Pass smack in the middle. So all that geography to the right is upstream. You can see that kind of greenish area at like 4 o'clock from Grants Pass. That's the urbanized Medford Central Point area. So of the entire basin, the most urbanized is that Jackson County Medford area, the Bear Creek Valley, Bear Creek watershed. So when things are happening there, like a few years ago, you remember there was the fuel fire and explosion at the gas station, and it leaked into the storm drain system, went right into Bear Creek. Yeah, it was miles from you, but it was going into Bear Creek, going into the river, and it was gonna get to you. So when there are regulations about like how people handle certain kinds of material, it's gonna matter to you, even if it's far away. All right, that's enough. Thanks, Dale. What are the values and benefits of the road? This is from the pedestrian bridge at Lighthearted Park. So this is Grants Pass. A beautiful riparian streamside habitat there, which is providing benefit to the river and the water quality. This photo, as I was putting slides together, is taken at the exact same location. It's directly at Baker Park, you know where that is, right? It's directly across from the intake of the water treatment plant for the municipal drinking water for the city of Grants Pass. That's one of our field seasonal technicians taking a water sample. I'll talk more about sampling we do. And there's some people launching some boats from the boat ramp to Baker. So if you hang out around here, you know a lot of those values. That's one. I just also wanted to talk, because this is Rotary, a lot of you are involved in the business community, but the river and the water in our basin is part of the economic driver for our county and our communities as well. There was a study that you can Travel Oregon Commission, and they found that travel spending just in Josephine County was over 170 million, which was over 1% of the entire state's travel spending for what was happening. Food service and accommodations are the big chunk of travel spending in Josephine County, and a lot of that has to do with people coming to the river and the other good things we have here in Josephine County. Part of that value is that not only drives tourism, but is a part of what people's lives here are about, is having a strong hold of native fish. Salmon, steelhead, which are a sea-run rainbow trout, and then other fish like lamprey, which have a lot of value to indigenous communities. Sport fishing, approximately 16 million of that travel economic driver there. That is Rainy Falls, which is just down from Great Creek. It's a long walk from the Taven, but you can get there. So one of the things I like to remind people about how special the Rogue is that the Rogue was one of the first rivers designated under the 1968 Wild and Scenic Rivers Act. That means that Congress in 1968, when Lyndon Johnson was president, decided we're going to pass this law to protect rivers, And of the very few rivers that very first year that were designated, the Rogue was one of them. So that's how special the Rogue River is, that Congress in 1968 looked at all the rivers that they were considering, and they picked the Rogue as one of the just handful of the few that were designated. We also have the wilderness, Rogue Wilderness in there too. So what Rogue Riverkeeper deals with a lot is we talk about protecting the river, defending the river, what are we protecting it from? There's lots of different activities, big and small, which have various effects on water quality and the aquatic ecosystems. I don't know how much you all are hearing, but there is proposed mining happening in the Illinois River, which is the biggest tributary of the Rogue. What this is, and you can search online, they're very clear about it. It's a Canadian corporation called Homeland Nickel. On their website, you can say, where's Homeland Nickel wanting to mine in Oregon? It will show their website with a bunch of different sites that Woodcock Mountain, $8 Mountain, Rough and Ready Creek. There's different geographic locations where they have been getting tens of thousands of acres of mining claims. And at this point, they are acquiring claims and getting ready to do exploratory mining just to see if there's value. So at this point, they're not definitely going to do it, but they're definitely looking, and they're definitely looking here. And so because the Illinois is known, and our whole region is known for being unique geologically, biologically, it's known as a biological hotspot in the globe. We have so many different species here. And I was talking to a geologist who said, oh, but those are just kind of scabby lands. But the animals and plants who live on those scabby lands, some of them don't live anywhere else in the world. So that's what makes some of those scabby serpentine and nickel containing rocks and lands important and valuable. So the question is, when humans are using natural resources, what's the trade-off? What are we going to trade to use those resources? It's just a question that we should all ask. And we're doing this. Proposed mining, so logging and road building. I'll talk a little more about the Forest Service roadless rule is being proposed to be taken away, which reduced road building on Forest Service land. Road building has a lot of impacts to water quality, and it also tends to bring wildfire happens more often associated near roads because people are doing a lot of the fire mining. So that's a challenge. And then a lot of also what Riverkeeper works on are things related to runoff, whether it's stormwater on urban lands or agricultural runoff. If you've ever seen an irrigation ditch, and maybe you have, it doesn't always look like the best water, does it? There's a lot of stuff in that, and there's different ways that agricultural users and irrigators can use and deliver their water to make it more protective or less negative impact on the water. Okay. So because we live in the United States where we have a Congress, we have elections, we have voters, we have laws that are made. We have some laws that go from state, federal, local, and different levels that are protective of water quality. Because before the Clean Water Act existed, there were things like the Cuyahoga River in Cleveland lighting on fire. In those years, industrial waste coming out of factories was a lot of the biggest water quality problems. Because of the success of the Clean Water Act, those discharges, like into the Cuyahoga and other, even the lower Willamette, are much reduced. Cuyahoga is a much nicer place. It does not light on fire, the Cuyahoga River. But the main source of pollution in a lot of our waterway in the US now is actually just the small amount, the runoff that comes off from stormwater and ag runoff. So those are also permitted and regulated under the Clean Water Act. And things like how do cities and counties decide to do, planning and development? I know Jim has a long history of that, so there's a lot of decisions that people and communities make about how are they gonna build, where are they gonna build it, and there's a lot of different ways to make it helpful and protective of water or not. Okay. You might have recently heard that a national organization called American Rivers, put the Rogue as one of its 10 most endangered rivers in the US. And I will say that, our organization, KS Rogue Riverkeeper, we did, communicate with them. We partner with a lot of different organizations. They wanted to highlight the road because there are some of these things I'm talking about, there's a lot of things happening at once. The mining, the logging, the road building, the different runoff. Because of that, it was to them a good example of how rivers are threatened in the United States. I mean, they're a national organization, but they picked the road because kind of as a snapshot, we are an example of a lot of the different ways that water quality can be threatened. So it's not like we're the worst. That doesn't mean like we have the worst water quality in the US. It just means that we have a lot of different threats coming at us right now that things are changed because things are changing. Okay. I just wanted to highlight, we have different land ownership in our basin. The Bureau of Land Management, which is under the Department of Interior, is a federal land management agency. This is the Medford district, so it's hard to see. This is their website. It doesn't show it very well. But the green dot to the left is the Grants Pass Field Office, which is over on Spalding. The yellow is Medford, or it's Medford District BLM. So if you live in any of these kind of more rural areas, you are probably very close or adjacent to Bureau of Land Management land. The way, what has just happened recently this spring is that Western Oregon Bureau of Land Management, which goes up and down the whole state, they are going to be proposing to revise what's called their resource management plan. How will we manage our resources in Western Oregon BLM? They are proposing things like, we would like to quadruple logging. Okay. That's interesting. How are you going to do that? That's gonna start affecting a lot of different places that have not been logged before. The way they're talking about it now, they're not giving specifics other than just general things like that. We want to quadruple logging. Okay. Where's that gonna happen? How are you gonna do it? You know, Climate System Wildlife Center, Rogue Riverkeeper, we are not against all logging, but we're against certain kinds of logging, certain kinds of places. And I would hope that most people who use resources are discerning on what they do, when they do, and how they do it. Okay. This is one that we had a problem with is after the Rum Creek fire, there was a lot of hazard tree removal very far from any people, basically. And it was a way for them to just say, a way to get volume. But they were circumventing the way the law is written. So this was in the Wild and Scenic Corridor. Okay. And when we're talking about Bureau of Land Management lands, a lot of those are in the tributaries, like all these little creeks that, you know, some of them, you know, Jump Off Joe and all these different creeks here. Grave Creek, they're all surrounded by Bureau of Land Management. And that's actually where the tributaries are supporting the main river, right? So if you think about what's happening on the tributaries as impacting the river, that kind of brings you into a different perspective. It's not just this small timber harvest unit. You know, how are they gonna do this? Are they gonna build more roads? Is gonna be more sediment? When there is logging of certain, different kinds of logging, end up having different kinds of impacts in terms of the water, the ability for the land to act as a sponge, to filter, to shade, to cool. All those things come into play. It's not easy to decide these things for sure, but these are things that humans, in my view, need to think about. Okay. And I always like to shout out small tributaries because they're just so beautiful. This one is in northern Jackson County. It's West Fork and Emmons Creek. And if you've ever been up to Elderberry Flats, there's a campground up there. It's just a really beautiful creek, salmon bearing stream. And these are the kinds of places that hold cold water, clean water, and are places that native fish can spawn. I wanted to talk about a new emerging contaminant, which is, this is just off, this is an April story, but this is, in the past few years, science has been finding that the components that come off of tires, actually in very small amounts are lethal to coho salmon. And, you can look it up, it's called 6-PBDQ, but you can just ask, what is it in tires that hurt salmon? It has to be in a net fat. It will tell you things like this. The good news is, well, let me tell you how that pollutant gets into waterways. We drive our cars. The tires wear and those particles, I mean, if you've touched a tire, it's always black, right? That's the tire particles coming off. When they wash into waterways, that's how it gets in and through those storm drains, that's how it gets in to the fish bearing streams. But one of the great things is if the road drains into what's called like a swale or some soil and vegetated area, if you see new development now, that's required more to have that, those are to capture those pollutants, because then the water is not carrying as many of the tire pollutants and any other, dripped oil, things like that, into the waterway. So humans learn things, humans can engineer and design things, humans can choose to build their environments in certain ways which protect the environment. What does Rogue Riverkeeper do? So we have a summer water quality monitoring program where we sample waterways for bacteria. We have a little lab, and one of the we sample at Baker Park, and usually that meets the state standard for water contact swimming. Sometimes it doesn't, but I think a lot of it has to do because there's a lot of ducks and geese there. So listen to you, don't swim where there's a lot of ducks and geese. We will be coming up engaging with also as the roadless rule is getting changed and the resource management plan revision is coming. We're supposed to have a comment period. So one of the great things about being in a democracy is we get to have a lot of input into how our government works. Not only just voting, but a lot of these processes, there are public comment periods and ways for citizens to voice their concerns. So if you sign up for Rogue Riverkeeper or KS Loud's email news, we talk about, comment period opening on this. If you'd like to comment on such and such, here's some information, here's some links. You can do the research yourself and make a comment. So this is just some of our water quality data from last year, one of our happy volunteer water quality monitors at the Applegate. We put it on our go to our website, it's through a platform called Swim Guide, and this map on the side shows some of the results. The areas that the dots in yellow were high bacteria a lot of the times we sampled. So that was actually Bear Creek and Little Butte Creek, which flows right through the town of Eagle Point. So it's a beautiful creek. It's a creek that, you could have kids playing in the summer. It goes right by 3 city parks. But because of the high bacteria level, it's not safe for water contact most of the time. And when I talk about vision, my vision would be that a 10-year-old kid living in Eagle Point could go down to the end of the block and enjoy wading in Little Butte Creek and not worry about too much bacteria. We do a lot of cleanup events, and whether it's on Bear Creek or on the river. And our next one's coming May 16th, our next big one. So we partner, and I saw the fellow talking with the SOS emblem on his shirt. They're one of the part of the solid waste agency. So we partner with a whole, nothing in our region happens by themselves. We do it with a bunch of people. So you see all those logos down there. If you want to, it's great that Rotary is doing a lot of this type of work too. If you want to come and join us on our event or partner with us sometime, we have some great opportunities to come in. We're gonna do on trash pickup on foot. Also, we're gonna do some invasive plant removal as well. If you've never been down the Rogue River, we have a fundraiser trip where we partner with an outfitter. There are some amazing places. I put that little picture on the right. That's a tributary of the road called Mule Creek, right by Mariel, if you've ever been to Mariel. It's a beautiful little stream, and it's one of the easy ways to get there is to get there by boat. All right, and June is National Rivers Month, and I just, as a nonprofit, the community supports KSL, the Rogue Riverkeeper. We are primarily supported by individuals, not by, we get zero governmental money. We get a few grants, but most of our support to operate and to pay employees is through individual donations. We of course have a website where you can do that, or we also have a newsletter. If you want to learn more about us up here, you can get on our email news. I got some stickers. And yeah, I don't know. That's it, Bella.
All right.
I'll take questions if there's time.
Instead of waiting for this nickel company to do test drilling, why can't we protest? I don't really care what they find. I don't want them polluting the watershed. Why would we be waiting until it's an accomplished fact?
Well, because it's their legal right to do that, and we, the federal government, so they are doing it on Forest Service land, and the Forest Service does not allow for input, like a comment period. I mean, you could protest, but at this point, there is, they would not tell them they cannot do the exploratory because they have a legal claim. And so, as that is their legal right, that would be very hard to say they couldn't at least exercise their right to do the exploratory work. Now, when they do the mining, if they propose the mining, they have to come up with a plan of operations. That is when the public process starts, because then the public can see that plan is publicly available for people to comment on. But the exploratory part, it's their legal right, and so it's very hard. There are no legal grounds upon which to stop them from exercising exploration on their own with mining rights. So, sorry. No, hey, believe me, we're ready.
How do you volunteer?
You can sign up on my list or go to the email and say, I want to volunteer. You can also, I know you all get email. You can select the amount of email you want. You can say, I want to get the volunteer emails, I want to get the event emails, I like, So yeah, stay in touch with us, because one of the things about KSL Rogue Riverkeeper, we are the locals. We are based here, we know this region. American Rivers, they're nice. They're based in Washington, DC, they depend on locals. When people talk about, well, I give money to this national organization, that's nice. But you know what? When things are happening on the ground here, we are the ones who see it and activate, and we are the ones who are staying in touch with the different agencies and the actions. And then we go to them, like we engage with Earth Justice. Hey, we need a lawyer now for this one. Because we have one attorney, but we sometimes need specialists in different tasks. So if you believe that local advocacy and knowledge matters, we are the organization that does that. And we support all the people who do other great work, but we are the advocates.
Kelly, one question here. You can see Kelly for a moment.
I think. Can you speak to the headlines recently about the Rogue River being endangered?
Yeah, that is that American Rivers designation. So we worked with them. There was a whole press release on that. And so that was a part of the broader campaign for them, where they are asking local people what's going on. We tell them this is what's going on locally. And then they, at the American Rivers Washington DC office, they look at the array of things that are happening in the United States, and then they pick their 10. Every year they pick their 10. That's shit.
Yeah, okay, yeah, thanks.
So I moved here in 1978, about 10 years after the wildlands was designated. And I love the river. I spent a lot of my life on the river. But when I moved here, I heard people really upset that they were their lifestyle had changed because of the act. And there was a lot of anger. And there's still a lot of anger. And there's one side and then there's the other side. So in keeping with what Brenda said today, how do we bridge that? How do we get to a third way or a fourth way or the circle?
That's a great question. And there's always gonna be different viewpoints and different ways that decisions are affecting different individuals and properties and things like that. So I guess what I always do is I always come from what are our shared values and how are we gonna get there to, like, if we do protect, if we value salmon, what is it gonna take to keep salmon? Well, we have to keep the temperature below 64 degrees because it starts getting lethal for them otherwise. Well, then how does that work? How does that work? That has to do with what's the temperature of the wastewater discharges in Medford and Grants Pass? What's gonna happen with the shading and on the tributaries as well as, so do we all just know and do those things, or do we, does it turn out it's something that's regulated? Nobody likes to be told what to do, but then we have to remember what are the values we're seeking to protect, and what's the best way to do it? And we're never gonna agree completely, but there are certainly, in my view, to always come from the place of what is the values that we share. And yeah, it's hard. It's not gonna make, some people are not gonna be happy. It's hard. You're never gonna make everybody happy. That's.
I'm gonna say thank you, and I want to make sure that everybody comes up and gets the information that you brought, because she has some great information, and I agree that it ties in beautifully with Brenda's inspiration today. Full circle, talking about it in a way rather than fighting about it and being polarized. What can we do? How can we use technology in different ways? Because there are two sides to the story. So, that's a lot of things, but a lot of information. And thank you for that. Let's give her a round of applause and thank you today. And with that, I'm going to say, take it away, Judy.
Thank you very much. That was really excellent. You're a great speaker, and thank you, Jim, for always organizing really interesting programs. Okay, today the topic is mascots, and we only have a couple minutes, unfortunately. But this is one everybody could share on if only we had time. We would define mascot as a person, animal, or object adopted by a group such as sports team, company, or organization to represent them, foster unity, and bring good luck. So my mascots in my life were the Fruitdale Panthers, the Lincoln Savage Tigers, and the Caveman, which of course I quite related to and still appreciate. And when I was in college at the University of San Francisco, our mascot was called the Dons. And to this minute, I don't really know what that was. But I looked it up and it says Spanish nobleman or distinguished gentleman. And I'm glad I didn't look that up ahead of time because I may not have chosen that college. Anyway, some years ago, I was at a party and they did as an icebreaker, go around and say your high school and your mascot. And there was this guy from Hawaii there. You might remember him, Max Unger. He played football at the University of Oregon. He was a duck. And he went to high school in Hawaii. He said his mascot was the ka makani in Hawaiian, which is the ocean breeze. And I thought, well, damn, that's really cool. Really cool one. But then I learned some others I'll share quickly. The Hoopston Corn Jerkers in Houston, Illinois. And then I found the Delta State Fighting Okra, the Yuma Criminals, and then this one I loved. It's Blooming Prairie High School in Minnesota.
the awesome blossoms. So now it's your turn to share with some happy bugs, and we lined up a few people ahead of time. Jean Marie is my helper, and you're gonna go to Jim's first. Could you tell us your mascot and donate some money for the privilege?
I'll give $20. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I went to an all Catholic boys school called Eller High School, and we were the Purple Panthers.
Oh, who's that?
Dawn.
Dawn.
All right, I'll make it fast. 5 happy bucks for 5 mascots.
Okay.
I'm embarrassed to say I was a cheerleader.
Oh, no, we're not surprised. We love you.
Okay,
Anyway.
and we were called the Wildcats, the Ukiah High Wildcats. Then I went to UC Davis, and it was an ag and vet school. Who the hell knew what the mascot was, and I didn't care. They were just out there taking care of their cows. And then I transferred to UC Santa Barbara, very cool, the Gauchos, but the Gaucho was kind of unacceptable. I couldn't get close to him.
I understand.
Okay, then went to Berkeley, and as some of us know, that was Oski. And Oski kind of looked like a professor who really wasn't going to be like excited. He was just preparing for his next lecture. Finally, it's the ducks.
Yeah.
And who does not love the ducks?
All right,
Okay,
please.
Got Bruce next.
Bruce, what you got?
Dartmouth College, 1968 to 1972, we were still the Indians. So was Stanford University.
Mm.
Dartmouth, however, was founded as an Indian training school in 1769, 7 years before the Declaration of Independence by King George III. In the next 200 years, they educated 17 Native Americans.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was removed. It was culturally inappropriate. So they then went to the Big Green, which is really exciting, right? That is still the official mascot more than 50 years later. However, in 2003, the counterculture newspaper said, what should it really be? And it really is unofficially the thing that really captures the culture and spirit of a Dartmouth undergraduate, and that's Keggy beer.
Let me see, my elementary school, Coleman Elementary was the Tiger. Davidson Junior High School, the Cougar. Sangerfeld High School, the Bulldog. Rogue Community College, the Ospreys. And Bushnell University, is Iggy the Beacon.
Man,
Yeah.
some of them need some work. Yeah, a couple more to go and we'll wrap up.
Greg is next.
Greg, what you got?
So Glendale High School, we were the Pirates, and later on, one of my classmates, who had Victory Building, did the fascia of the school as a pirate ship, so it's a pirate ship now. And then OIG was the Owls.
All right. You got any more?
Ayla.
Ayla, and then we got Luke's too.
So I grew up in Lincoln City, which is on the Oregon coast, and every street is named Mast or Anchor, and every logo of every business is a whale or a wave or something. So naturally, our high school mascot was the Tigers.
Okay, we're gonna cram in as many more as we can in a couple minutes.
Like Dawn, I was an old bear. But the one place that I wanted to be part of the mascot, I couldn't get into grad school. I wanted to go to UC Santa Cruz so that I could be a banana slug.
Yes.
I guess it's funny, you should have to maybe.
Yes. I completely get it. Who else have we got?
Just a bit of Grants Pass history, so 25 years ago, when Parkside was built, they had a little informal survey with the students and staff, and this is before RCC Osprey, so all the staff wanted to be Ospreys, and the kids all wanted to be Panthers. And the next time I turned around, they were the Parkside Pioneers.
One more, two more.
Okay, so I grew up in Pacific Rim, California, right on the coast, and we were the Breakers.
Very nice.
And our mascot was Billy the Breaker, and Billy the Breaker had to wear a paper mache wave. Yeah, I thought it was the stupidest thing.
Thank you so much, you know, and we're gonna do this again because it's an easy and fun one, but with all due respect, none of you have taught the Houston corn jerkers or the Delta State fighting okra. Thanks a little.
Well, if we did in the fanatics, I think now that it's not at all. I have to, actually, I would settle, but just Russian gophers. I was a gopher in high school, so oh joy. Anyway, lucky card today is the 9 of diamonds. If you have the 9 of diamonds, well, surprise, enjoy. Thank you. Okay, and since we're over, I'll keep it short and sweet and just have a couple quotes today. I love sitting in the evenings and going through quotes. It's something that I have, and it's endeared me to being the president, so I'll probably keep doing it long afterwards. But a couple of first today, rivers are places that renew our spirit, connect us with our past, and link us directly with the flow and rhythm of the natural world, which ties in. And that was by Ted Turner, who passed this last week. Another one, and this one I think a lot of women can relate to, what I would like to be, a woman in harmony with her spirit is like a flowing river. She goes where she will without pretense and arrives at her destination prepared to be herself and only herself. And that is by Maya Angelou. So have a great day, have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you next week.